The number one mistake in losing fat is to think fat loss is really about diet and exercise. The truth is that weight loss is really not about food, it is not even about exercises. Dr. Daniel Paul.
In the 21st century, weight loss is more about hormones than it is even about the food you're eating.
This is the reason two people will eat the same food, one adds weight another doesn't. It is simply because their hormones respond differently to the same food, due to different sensitivities. Food and exercise act as a flick on a switch triggering on and of different hormones which in return, promote different metabolic activity. Metabolism is the different biochemical reactions that occur in your body using up energy. So, what exactly are hormones?
Hormones act as chemical messengers and are secreted into the bloodstream by the endocrine glands for distribution around the body. Each hormone acts only upon specific types of cells, those bearing the correct membrane receptor sites. These are the target cells for the hormone. Within the bloodstream there are many different hormones. When specific receptor sites are not filled, cells remain turned off. As hormones attach to receptor sites, they initiate a switch-on reaction in the cells.
Some primary hormones that affect whether you lose fat or store fat includes insulin, glucagon, leptin, thyroid, cortisol, growth hormone among others. How food and exercise affect them determine whether you lose or gain body fat. But it gets even more complicated. Hormones are not only affected by what you eat but also by how you eat. Pattern as well as combination of food is as important as, but it is not food only that can flick these switches. Other things that can trigger hormones include exercises, toxins, sleep and stress. As such, fat loss is really a strategy based on how well you can manage and even manipulate your hormones to get the desired. For example, your fat loss strategy should definitely manage insulin. Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas, an organ attached to your digestive system that tells your body to turn glucose in your body into fat. In fact, insulin is called the
Insulin is a hormone that is secreted from the pancreas, and its job is to help regulate blood sugar. When we eat a food, it's broken down into sugar in our system, and then in response to rising blood sugar, the pancreas will secrete insulin, and insulin's job is to take sugar, bring it into the cell to be used for energy.
Okay.
Now, the reason that we call insulin the fat storage hormone is that when your insulin levels are elevated, the body can store more fat. And that's why if you are eating a high glycemic diet and chronically eating foods that break down really quickly into sugar, your body can overproduce insulin in response to high blood sugar, and when insulin levels are chronically elevated, your body will start to store more.
Unfortunately, fat loss is not that easy. Research shows that it is possible to reduce insulin and still not really burn fat. A second hormone needs to be in play to induce the fat burning. This hormone is called growth. Brad Pillion of EatStopEat.com explained.
Traditional thinking that became really popular back in the 90s was that when you drop your insulin levels from like 70 or 30 microunits per liter down to fasting levels of like 10, once you got down and your insulin was low, well, your fat would start being released and you start burning fat. To catch up on what's happened in science, we've actually proven this isn't always the case. In fact, what we can show is that you can get insulin all the way down to fasting levels without having any fat being released from your fat stores or burnt. How we did this was with something called a growth hormone releasing hormone antagonist, or something prevented you from releasing growth hormone, insulin levels got low. Turns out what you need is as insulin levels go down low, growth hormone levels start to become high. Obviously that would be peaks and valleys. As growth hormone goes up, that's when fat loss starts happening. You actually need an increase in growth hormone to burn fat, not just a decrease in insulin. So the traditional think of, I just have to get my insulin levels low or under control or normalized to burn fat, is actually false. What you need to do is get your insulin low, but also increase your growth hormone levels to burn fat.
Fat loss gets even more complicated. For example, it is possible to get insulin low, glycogen high and have growth hormone and still have fat loss resistance. This can occur, for example, when your body becomes insensitive to a hormone called leptin. Is a hormone produced by fat cells that travel to your brain and instruct it to burn fat. This is often caused by
So many people come into my office who just simply cannot lose weight. And we realize now that it's because of the level of toxicity. Once again, going back to toxins. The toxins come into the body and they actually attach themselves to fat because they're fat soluble. So they attach themselves around the fat cell. The problem is this. The toxins tell the fat cell to release two things. One called cytokines, which control your immune system. The other one's called leptin. Leptin is a hormone that tells your brain to burn its fat for energy. So what happens is these toxins are constantly telling the cell to release these chemicals unchecked. So the leptin levels continue to rise, continue to rise. Eventually, the receptor sites which reside in your brain to this hormone burn out. So now your brain can't hear the message from this hormone leptin. So guess what? You can't burn fat, regardless of how much exercise you do, regardless of what diet you eat. You will not burn fat, you will not lose weight, because your body's not getting the signal from.
On the other hand, a hormone that often interferes with fat loss is called cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone that is produced when you are under stress. Stress here is not only related to psychological stress, for example problems at home or at work, but also physiological stress like toxins, diseases and even fatigue. Cortisol is also known to antagonize the metabolism hormone thyroxine produced by thyroid gland.
Furthermore, the cortisol is going to inhibit the conversion of T4 to T3. I hope this is making sense to you. T4 is the inactive thyroid hormone. T3 is the active thyroid hormone. That's what you want. You want some active thyroid hormone. But the excessive cortisol is going to inhibit that conversion.
Cortisol, the stress hormone, has been shown to reduce thyroid hormone, therefore slowing down your metabolism, which in turn slows down fat loss.
And so what have you got there? You've got stress shutting down the thyroid. It's blocking the shot. It's saying, get it out of here. We don't want to deal with it. When you're under stress, the body slows down its processes. It conserves energy. And if your body's trying to conserve energy, it doesn't want that thyroid cranking all the time. It wants to slow it down. And so that's why you have to really manage your...
This whole orchestra of hormones is what needs to be correctly managed for you to lose fat. If you are very good at managing these hormones, you can lose fat fast and very easily. The second biggest mistake of losing body fat is what is called the compensation problem. In August 17 of 2009, the Time magazine featured a cover story by John Cloud titled "The Myth About Exercises." In the article they referenced studies that show that exercises do not make you thin. The reason cited by experts was what is referred to as compensation. Studies show for some reason you tend to compensate for calories used up in exercises by eating more, either because you are hungry, or want a reward, or compensate by using your body a lot less once you are out of the gym. Either way, you compensate for calories spent in the gym.
As you're pounding away in the gym, and it's like the big ongoing joke with my wife and I is, gosh, it's like you look over and they're hour two of some endurance exercise. And then they'll justify saying, yeah, I can go home and eat whatever I want. That's one of the big problems with why you don't lose weight with exercise, because guess what happens when you exercise, especially endurance exercise? Your hunger goes up. And when your hunger goes up, so does the caloric intake.
It is true you do not need to exercise to lose weight. But having said that, it has also been shown that exercises can speed fat loss, and they are proven to help you maintain your weight. But compensation, just like switch effect, is a result of not understanding your body's physiology and biochemistry. For example, we have seen that you need low insulin levels and high growth hormone levels to burn fat. Exercise is one of the most effective ways to naturally boost growth hormone. But here is the trick. Not all exercise can result to an increase in growth hormone. Some exercise increase growth hormone, others do not. Unfortunately, the famous aerobics and cardio referenced in the Time magazine do not have a huge impact on growth hormone. So to lose fat fast and easily, you need to deal with the switch if compensation problem effectively. The following are 5 simple steps you can use to achieve this. Click the link below to continue.